got 2 weeks with them. You have to listen. And poor old Billy, he was only 15 at the time, went to the captain and said, listen, I haven't got a clue what this idiot's talking about. Had not got a clue, he's somewhere else. It's a bit of criticism towards me for quite some time being over technical and all that sort of stuff, which I was. So I learned at that stage, if you listen to your captain and the team's not hearing you, you're in all sorts of strife. So I didn't have any idea of the value of the building process that you were listening to yesterday, how important it was to get buy-in, a team consensus and the simplicity of the game. John's going to talk to you about coaching in the short term this afternoon, but the simplicity of the game and prioritising it in what are the 3 things we need most in offence, most in defence and most in our communication system, and anything tactically. What are simply your roles and how to best utilise what you have. So that was the area that I probably learnt most from my first foray into coaching. The other drama was that we never lost a game over a 5-year period. We coached really, really talented players. And last week when I was in Sydney, unfortunately 3 of them were sitting in the audience and now coaches, and they were prime examples of probably what you shouldn't do. So they had to suffer me when I was a lot younger and a lot more enthusiastic in relation to what they needed to know. It's funny in the coaching line, you sort of need to know what you know at the end. At the beginning, it's a bit like having a mortgage. You get all the money at the end and you need to start with to buy the house, but maybe that's why we're here, to try and share some of those sorts of things. But never losing was a problem for me. Certainly, it got me to a point in coaching where the same bloke used to come to my house. I was living in Coffs Harbour because I thought I wanted to bring the kids up. The kids would become important over time as we have a listen. He used to come and visit me, and in Coffs Harbour, I was a physical educator. I'd given up physical education teaching and lecturing at Sydney Uni as a 30 bloke, to bring the kids up on the North Coast. I wanted to get out of Sydney. Sydney was getting a bit rough for me. I just take the kids to the North Coast. But he was encouraging me to come back and coach. And it took me 2 years to decide. I didn't necessarily see myself as a rugby league coach. Didn't aspire to coach first grade or anything anywhere near it. I enjoyed dealing with talented kids with positive attitudes who wanted to go somewhere. That was my little enjoyment in sport, if you like. But ultimately, I involved the family in a decision, and we decided to go back and coach at Canterbury, where he had become the head coach at the time. So I was lucky enough to see the evolution. You sit in the coach's box, you see the better coaches react to things on the field. You see things like coping with the politics of coaching. So that's where I first saw a team get sent back to the coach. So I was a selector at the time for a 3-year period. Selected a team, the number 1 player, not included. Goes down to the CEO, team comes back, not acceptable. So the lesson was, that was a very, very nasty week. And the impact through a club on the influence of the politics to the selection on the coaching side, the football side, was very nasty. And I understood, and I took a lot of that with me, that if you ever become the leader, the demarcation between your role and their role is significantly important to you. I got sacked at the Bulldogs because I was honest enough to say to them, I walked in before the selection meeting actually and said, oh listen, Frog, I've got an opportunity because I wanted to go back to Canterbury. I was a Canterbury junior and I want to become a development officer. And I never got that opportunity. I ended up coaching the 23s. And Newcastle was in the dreams of people in Newcastle. At the same time, a bloke called Warren Wright had been asked to coach the first grade team. And I'd walked in and said, Frog, listen, I'm off next year, I'm going to become the development officer at Newcastle. He said, that's terrific, I'm really pleased for you. He said, when you get your bags, all right, go and tell the boys you're not here anymore, and thanks very much for being here, we've enjoyed your company. But basically, you can go. So, great. So I dutifully went to selectors meeting first and told the selectors what was going on, and Warren at the time turned round to Malcolm Cliff, He said, Malcolm, have you told Frog you're coaching the Gold Coast next year? He said, no. He said, well, might do. He said, because you're going to get sacked too. So Malcolm went down. So long story short, I finished the season because Malcolm then can't. It's one in, all in. So Malcolm ended up staying, I ended up staying, and we ended up going to Newcastle. But it's interesting. So the first thing, sacking was a shock. I didn't think anyone would, bang, you're gone. But it happened 2 more times. It's all right. And they got me to Newcastle, and Newcastle was very different. It was a funny place. It sort of had 2 robo sleepers, one on each shoulder, big ships. They always running second best to Sydney, and they had this real mentality of they'd been neglected. It was a strong labour seat, and they always thought they were running second best. Not a lot came their way. And we started the club, and bringing some of the experiences with you, things you learn. We knew we had to have local product. We had to set some goals. There was no Newcastle Rugby League player played on a regular basis in 1988 in the NRL. None. Okay, a bloke called McKinnon, a bloke called Brad McKinnon played a lot of games with me, tackle a bit. But we had to get a lot of local product, and we had to get it fairly quickly. Therefore, we didn't have it, so we had to recruit it, and it comes up a little bit in your clubs at various levels. And they chose a simple philosophy. They chose the 3 T's. They needed to be tough, they needed to be able to tackle, they needed to have plenty of tomorrows. But the 3 T's is what Newcastle was built on, apart from drinking black beer. But that's changing at the moment, as we all know. They set a very strong standard. It was, you talk about the empowerment, the delegation, and we talked about groups and individual stuff yesterday a lot. And there were some very strong characters. Butterfield and those people were very strong characters, and they really wanted to have a standard. And they set a standard. If you have a cup of coffee, I'll show you the cards in my pocket. And it's a fairly ruthless sort of standard. Anyone who didn't come up to that standard, they really didn't want to have at the club. So leadership and making the tough decisions as a coach or a leader was made a little easier because of the standard that was applied across the club. But the biggest lesson for Newcastle was if you want to get a lot of local product there quickly, the quickest way is don't worry about the kids can play. You need to coach the coaches. Okay? You might only need 10 or 12 of the coaches, but you're going to need a lot of the kids. The ones that stuff it up with the coaches, the kids can play. All right? And it's not by chance, I think, that people like Andrew and Matthew Bob, or Bradley Godden, Robbie Davis, Robbie Ross, Brett Morley, all were in the same place at the same time, and all went on to do something in particular. Maybe someone at that club had a process whereby their education and their learning was accelerated. All right, Jason Mark bobbed along too. He could play a little bit at the time. And coaching coaches was the key. Identifying them, getting their personal development plans right, but giving them opportunities, giving them the power and the practice, and then giving them feedback on how they were going was really important. Making them justify their decisions, making them record what they think the player will, what level that player will get to. If I said to you, you've got a really talented player in your team, do you think you can play for Australia? Do you think you can play first grade? Do you think you'll be a national rep? Whatever, but record it for your own thing. So I learned very early on that you need to record and check on yourself about how your predictions are in relation to your talent. Because none of you at the moment are working at the highest level, but you've probably got players in your team that you think may get there. If you do, write it down, okay, and see how accurate you are. I know there's lots of things that can go wrong, okay, you can come into all sorts of things that go wrong with young fellas these days, or the environments they go into aren't conducive to them reaching their potential. But in a club structure, when you're coaching with 15s or 17s or 19s or second grade, the first grade coach or the club needs to know who are going to be first graders. And it's not that many come out of third grade to play first grade. They win the club. Still the 3 used to come out of the old third grade. They actually went on to play first grade. Yeah, that's in a good year. So keeping a record and making those coaches just